The Special Air Service is a British Special Forces regiment that is well known today as one of the best in the world. And today, I want to recreate the SAS's loadouts in Phantom Forces. However, before getting into the weapons, I want to brief you with a bit of history about the group. The Special Air Service was founded during World War II in order to assist the Allied powers by carrying out raids behind enemy lines. The group started by conducting these raids in the North African desert with the mission to take out German airfields. Their first mission, a parachute mission, ended horribly due to inexperience and unexpected weather conditions, leading to the death or capture of 22 of their men. After that, they began using jeeps and heavy artillery weapons, most notably Browning and Vickers K machine guns. Interestingly, Desert Storm takes place in the North African desert, so I've chosen to use it as one of the main maps for the background footage. Anyways, the group eventually assisted in fighting the Axis powers in Italy, France, and finally in the final push back into Germany to conclude the war in Europe. The group was disbanded after the war, but re-established 2 years later, and since then, they've participated in many important operations ranging from covert surveillance to close combat fighting to hostage rescue. Now, how accurately can we recreate their weapons in Phantom Forces? Well, let's just see. So the main rifle that the SAS uses is the L119A1 and most recently the L119A2, which features quite a few upgrades to the previous version. This is basically just the British name for the Canadian C8 SFW carbine. And by complete coincidence, Phantom Forces recently added the C8A2 into the test place. The C8 was adopted by the British Special Forces around the year 1999, somewhat replacing the previously used M16s and C7 assault rifles. You might be wondering, why didn't they choose a replacement like the British L85? The short answer is that they just didn't like it that much, and one of the biggest perks that everyone in the SAS seems to love about the C8 carbine is how lightweight and easy to carry it is, making it an ideal choice for close combat raids and hostage situations. One of the setups I found for this includes a suppressor, a laser, a vertical grip, and an ACOG scope. And by the way, just to be clear, it was really hard to find information on the exact setups used for each gun, so feel free to either correct me in the comments or just provide some additional information if you have it. They also use a variant called the C8 CQB, which is basically just a shorter version of the C8, and luckily we can also achieve this variant in Phantom Forces by adding the CQB barrel to the gun. Alright, so the next gun that they use is the UCIW, or the Ultra Compact Individual Weapon, which is basically just a really compact M4. Around 2010, UK Special Forces were looking for a compact weapon that also fired 5.56, and thus they chose the UCIW, which is actually just about as compact as an MP5. And while we don't have the exact variant in Phantom Forces, it's pretty easy to recreate using the carbine barrel and retracting the stock on the M4. The SAS also used suppressors and either a comp aim point or EOTech sights on the gun, so even though we can't put on the suppressor because of the barrel attachment, we can still use one of the sights. The UCIW is also semi-automatic, so that's why I'm using the semi-firing mode over the burst mode. So now let's get into the AR-15 family. UK Special Forces chose the Colt Arma Light to replace the L1A1, which had been used since 1954, looking for a lighter weapon with automatic fire capability. This switch made them go from 7.62 ammo to 5.56 ammo, allowing them to hold more rounds even though it had less firing capability. So getting into our Phantom Forces setup, they later introduced the M16, which often featured an M203 grenade launcher underbarrel attachment. Funny enough, the M203 was invented to replace the M79 grenade launcher, something that we actually have in Phantom Forces, but unfortunately we can't really launch real grenades out of it. So stylus, can we get that please? So other than the grenade launcher, I couldn't really find anything on the preferred attachments they use on the M16, so that's why I just went with no attachments. And they later switched to the Canadian C7 and C7A1 assault rifles, but they actually never went to the L85 series. And I'm pretty sure they did some trials with it, but they just didn't really like it because of how heavy it was. It was too heavy, and it also didn't allow them to attach the grenade launcher. Honestly, we should get Stylus to add the grenade launcher. So next up is the HK G3 battle rifle. They used the G3 during multiple surveillance operations and ambushes against the IRA. These operations started at the start of the 70s, and at the time they only really had weapons that could fire 9mm rounds such as the MP5 or 5.56 rounds such as the M16 series. So they adopted the G3 series, which was able to fire 7.62. Once again, I couldn't really find which attachments they were using on it, so I just went with the default for the background footage, but they did use a couple variants. They used the G3K-A4, which is more compact than the regular G3, and they also used a version called the G3SG1 for close range sniping. It was basically just a regular G3 with a couple new additions, including a sniper scope, which we can add to our Phantom Forces loadout. UK Special Forces also created a carbine version of the G3 known as the MC51, which we also have in Phantom Forces. The gun still shot 7.62 rounds, but due to how compact the gun was, they had problems controlling the recoil, so they decided to switch to the HK33 and HK53, basically G3s that shoot 5.56 with more bullets. By the way, I'm not exactly sure if the MC51 actually got used in combat though. It's not really that clear. I looked on the internet, it's not that clear. They also use the HK G36 occasionally, and it's rumored that they use the G36K in Afghanistan in small numbers. Kinda wish I had more information on that, but that was all I could really find. The SAS has also been using the MP5 series since the late 70s. The MP5 is compact and therefore really good for closer range situations, and the MP5A3 variant with a collapsible stock is what most troopers used during the Iranian embassy siege in 1980, rescuing 19 hostages held by terrorists in the Iranian embassy in London. They also like to use the MP5 in these sort of situations because you're unlikely to shoot and hit hostages through the walls because there isn't too much wall penetration. The SAS also likes to use the MP5K, whose small build is ideal for undercover work because of how small and easily concealable it is. And finally, they also use the MP5 SD for dealing with either sentries or other threats that really need to be handled quietly, as the MP5 SD with its integral suppressor combined with subsonic rounds makes it especially silent even in Phantom Forces. The MAC-10 SMG was also reportedly used for a short time by the SAS in Northern Ireland during the 70s, but due to its inaccuracy, it was soon replaced by the HK MP5. Again, I wish I had more information. Alright, now, someone must have told them that shotguns in Phantom Forces were broken because another gun that they like to use was the Remington 870. They primarily use it for counterterrorism, either as a primary or more commonly sawed off as a secondary, which is basically just the Serbu shotgun in Phantom Forces, or I think it's called the Super Shorty now. While they do use it with standard buckshot or slugs, there are also two other popular ammo types that they use on it. The first is Hatton rounds, which are basically just used to hit the locks off doors without accidentally hitting hostages on the other side. The other are called RIP rounds, which spread tear gas upon impact. Honestly, that would be really cool too if Phantom Forces had it, but that might not be too practical. Alright, so moving on, the HK417 has been used as a sort of DMR style sniper rifle in Iraq, kind of in similar fashion to the G3SG1 that I mentioned earlier. All they use on this is a sniper scope, I believe, maybe a grip here and there, and it's kind of perfect because the HK417 comes with a free global offensive sniper scope in Phantom Forces. However, I will say using the gun on semi was very difficult. Alright, anyways, the last primary that I'll be talking about is the AWM sniper rifle. Of course, being made in Britain and one of the top quality sniper rifles in the world, the British Special Forces surely have to make good use of this. So it's been reported that the SAS has used many variants of the Accuracy International sniper rifle, including the L96A1, the L118A1 and 2 AW, and finally the L115A1, 2, 3, and 4 AWM. They also use the AWC, which is the Arctic Warfare Covert, which is, from what I'm getting, basically the AWS, the Arctic Warfare Suppressed, with a folding stock. And lastly, they also use a version called the AW50, which I'm sure you might be able to guess means it fires 50 cal ammunition. Honestly, why don't they have that in Phantom Forces either? I mean, we literally have BFG shotguns. So yeah, that's basically the end of the video. I kind of skipped over the secondaries, which I found were kind of boring anyways. They use pistols like the Glock 17 and 19, and a few other pistols that we don't really have in Phantom Forces, such as the Sig Sauer. It'd be really cool if Phantom Forces could add some more interesting and unique guns. Like, we kind of have like 50 different AKs and everything like that. But anyways, yeah, like all the other guns that they use or equipment that they use, I couldn't really add in this video because we just don't have it in Phantom Forces. But yeah, I mean, I went as extensively as I could. And anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later. Ciao.